GM, we are live and we are waiting for two. If you want to join a 30-second BBM, now is your chance. Steve Schaup, GM to you, my friend. Thank you so much for coming by this morning. Steve over on the Fanspeak Network doing awesome stuff. Steve, thank you so much for coming in this morning. We're down to waiting for one on real time. Thank you for coming by. I've seen you in other chats. I don't think I've seen you in here. Hashtag QBs matter. Well, they certainly do. And I'm somewhat of a 3 QB truther. I tend to build a lot of 3 QB teams. So I agree with you. QBs matter. So again, thanks for coming in this morning. Let's see if we can't fill this. Again, this is a 30-second BBM. So if you want to run one of these famous early morning BBMs and see what it's like in these streets, now is your chance, and your chance has just passed you by. If you missed out, we have now fired it up. James Young, he joined in. Thank you so much for coming in, and thanks for helping fill this so we didn't have to wait too long. So let's see, James, I always forget your username because I don't think it's James Young, but let me know. I should know. I apologize for not. But I see Steve is in here. Steve in the 5 hole. I've got the 9 hole. Awesome stuff. I'm glad we've got this filled. Going to try to get in 2 drafts, of course, before Pete's Best Ball Breakfast starts at 10. This is sort of like a, there's not really a word for appetizers when it comes to breakfast. I can't even say coffee because that's his bit. So you know what? This is like, yeah, we're we are here before breakfast begins. Before breakfast begins. Oh, James missed it. He's Huron River Rat. Okay. All right, Steve. Thanks for letting me know. I know I've drafted quite a few with Huron River Rat. It's one of the better names out there. So let's see what we can get going. I wonder if now when I joined, this was waiting for 2, and sometimes these 30-second BBMs can take a while to fill. So it's possible we're going to get some people who joined this like an hour ago and end up autoing. The other thing I ask all of you is let me know how my audio sounds. I just got this handy dandy boom mic here because I used to have to stream like leaning forward to be near the mic. And I think this is just going to make this a lot better, better of an experience for me sitting here. So if I sound better, let me know. If I sound worse, let me know, and I can adjust. Dirty P. I got 3 QB builds sometime around Mother's Day. My pre and post Mother's Day splits are striking. It's sort of like the Geno Smith home dome split. So you're dramatically changing things based on Mother's Day, which isn't really normally a line of demarcation we see too much in the best ball streets. But I'm glad you can identify that moment. I hope it was like a conversation you had with your mom or with your family, just really set you on the straight and narrow there. Let's see. We're coming up here. We're in the 9 hole. If I sort by ADP, it'd be Puka or CMC. I think I'm fine with whichever I get. Might lean a little more towards CMC than Puka, but we'll see what the room gives to us here. Bowen, Pat 11 winds the clock down. Al Boogie, GM, thank you so much for coming by. Crander 47 says the audio sounds good, and Steve agrees. Awesome. Thank you all for that. Okay, so Puka went. I'm just going to take CMC. Again, my philosophy in the first round has generally been at least at this point in BBM, to just go with the market and not try to get out, not try to make big exposure stands here. Try to be pretty even in this first round and save some of those takes for later. All right, so let's see. Steve, he took Bijan at 5. I like that. I feel like Bijan at 5 is a pretty is pretty nice there. I know, Steve, I think you have him ranked pretty aggressively in your own ranking, so that's not too surprising to see. It's AJ Brown, A-Chain, and Lad. Interesting here. I'm tempted to do A-Chain, CMC, and then see if we can't just figure out wide receiver later. Obviously, I like a lot of these other receivers. I don't have a ton of A-Chain. He's a guy I'm trying to catch up a little on. I really want to be catching up on Derrick Henry. I think I only have one BBM share of Derrick Henry, and I think this is my 50th BBM. So I'm desperately trying to get closer to 6-ish%, 5-6%. I think on him. I think if I were to try to get to 8, I would have to really be taking him aggressively. But I had a little bit of a fade that I have since rethought, and I do not want to be totally out on him. And I think the issue for me is I like a lot of these receivers you get in the second round. I'm really big on Drake London. He's one of my favorite picks there. So sort of in a vacuum between London and Henry, I tend to lean towards London, but I do want to even that out a little bit. Steve gets a nice little mini fall on Lad, so that'll be a nice combo. You don't get that every draft. Bijan, Lad going there together, and Rashee Rice continues his rise, getting higher and higher every day as the summer goes on. Steve asks, what first round do you have the least of, maybe due to circumstance? That's a good question. I almost think it's Jefferson, because I was really low on top 5 picks early on in the cycle. So it's probably Jefferson. I would say if not, then it's might be Puka, because I know I took a little bit of CMC ahead of Puka, like in 1 or 2 drafts. So in all likelihood, I might be slightly over on CMC and under on Puka. I know I said I was going to try to be even on them, but I do have a slight lean towards McCaffrey there, but I don't think I'm super light on Puka. Maybe after my next pick, I could try to pull up the draft board and see if that's the case. But yeah, it's been interesting seeing some of the changes. I mean, Bowers all the way at 23. That was kind of unheard of early on in this draft season, and McBride going in the 3rd. Now he did go a lot to the 1 hole, so it's sort of semantic whether he goes there at 24 or 25. But that's really the closest I've seen them drafted at the back end of the 2nd, early 3rd so far. Steve said it's Jefferson for me as well. I have him ranked him behind a couple backs and a Lamb at times where I have him 3rd or 4th, and he's going 2nd, etc. Yeah, Steve, I had Lamb ahead of him in the big board, like the way I was drafting. And when they added Pickens, I just returned them to sort of where they came. But I definitely see the vision there, and I love Gibbs and Bijan. I have a difficult time taking Jefferson ahead of those guys. The only reason that I don't mind taking Jefferson is when you can end up with hold on, I'm coming up here. Let's see. Oh my goodness. All right, I will just take a JSN share, start catching up at receiver. Don't mind him there. I think it's getting a little too cute to go elite quarterback on this particular team, where again I'm going to be struggling to catch up with some wide receiver firepower. And let's see what the board gives to us with our next selection. I've cooled on Breece Hall, but if he's there at 40, I am likely to pick him up there. Another guy I'm a little below market on, I realized I'm at about 4% DK Metcalf, and I think I have 6 or 7 times the Jameson Williams. I think in my heart of hearts, that's, I really like JMO. I want to have a big stand on him, but that delta is getting uncomfortably wide. So I do want to add some Metcalf shares. I think there's a pretty good chance that he ends up being who Rodgers kind of latches onto, and And I think there's a chance that we're kind of underrating the offense in Pittsburgh. We're just assuming that Arthur Smith is going to be super duper run heavy, but I'm going to use this as a chance to add some Metcalf. I think I like McMillan, I like Worthy, I like JMO, but in this range, I think if I'm not going to go elite QB, which I'm not going to, it is a nice little value on Lamar. But again, when I went running back, I don't know if I want to fall that far behind. So I'll take this as a chance to get DK Metcalf on this team. The other thing is I really do like, if we're going to be week 16-ish, I like Pittsburgh playing at Detroit, especially for the Pittsburgh side there. I think that could end up pushing Pittsburgh a bit and kind of, I don't think the Steelers are the most popular team to build with, but I think if you can get them through to week 16, they could, be kind of a sneaky piece to get you into the finals. Crandra, I don't know if I missed this. GM, thank you so much for coming in this morning. Likewise, Hartman, great to see you on this beautiful Monday morning. Greg asks, every training camp pass I've seen from Rodgers is a 1/2 step dump off screen. Does the community love Warren again? I think the leg up community has never stopped loving Warren, and they're big movers here in this industry. So I have to imagine the Slappy community has never fully abandoned Warren. And PPR Tyler, thank you so much for coming in this morning. PPR Tyler, I believe he's up to 157 straight days of streaming. Absolutely incredible, almost half a year. So your commitment, it's so admirable, and your stream is awesome. So thank you. And PPR Tyler, also, I would not have passed 100 subs without you. So thank you for getting me over the hump there. I really appreciate everything you've done for me and the community. And yeah, PPR Tyler, fantastic stream. Highly recommend you tune in to that. Tiger Uppercut, GM, thank you for stopping by. Aaron, Tiger, this is a family show. We I don't want to get age restricted again. I randomly got age restricted on a stream. I don't even know what happened on it, but now if it happens here, Tiger, now if it happens here, we know who the culprit is. No, thank you again, Tyler. Yes, Tyler is going to be doing the combine when he hits his next sub goal. I think it's 2K subs. I apologize, I don't exactly remember, but yes, Tyler will be doing an entire NFL combine, 40 bench press, I assume vertical, and I don't know if you're going to do the cone drill. Anyway, Tyler, that's awesome. I would love to run a combine myself, but I think I would be one of those weekend warrior Achilles incidents you hear about. So maybe I'll have to come up with something clever for when I get there myself. With that said, again, do I want to take Waddle and then build out a Dolphins bet? I haven't really done too much A-Chain Waddle. I know I have not done that in BBM. Kamara and Harvey are tempting, but I think this is a little bit of a tier break in the receiver department after Odunze and Jennings for me. So we'll pick up a Waddle share and then likely take a running back when this comes up at in 5 picks. Awesome. He hit the sub goal for combined 1250. Okay, perfect. Sorry, I did not remember the exact number, but that's awesome. I will definitely be watching that. He's doing it today. I can't wait to see. Awesome. That's so much fun. I like that you're bright and early, like getting ready for the combine. That is pretty cool. All right, so there goes Laporta. Question for me: if Odunze is there, that's a little bit tempting. James Conner is sort of the last of this kind of tier of running back. Let me see when I pick next. I pick next at 81 and 88. There's still a couple running backs around that range I can take. So we're going to take Odunze. I'm not going to worry about the year 5 buy situation, but again, another possible breakout candidate looking to catch up after CMC, and A-Chain also gives me another out at quarterback with Odunze, with Caleb, and the Niners do play the Bears if we're into week 17. stuff. Isn't gambling on stream and being family friendly mutually this is nothing like gambling. This is a game of skill and chance. It has nothing to do with gambling, Tiger Uppercut. You can watch this with all the littlest of degens out there, and they can enjoy their their fantasy football teams, I suppose. Learn a little bit about best ball. So let's pull the board back up. And Steve, I have neglected your team, and I'm sorry. So Steve started with Bijan, and then got Ladd, Devonta, Jalen Hurts, and then the aforementioned Caleb Johnson. I really like the Caleb Johnson pick. I would have been potentially considering him at 64 had I not again felt the need to take another receiver. So Steve, I certainly like what you're putting together. That Devonta Jalen Hurts combo you get there. Anytime you can get there, the further you get that from the one hole, I think kind of the better. It means you got a little bit more of a value on Hurts, so that's a pretty nice build that you have going there. Devontae, I know I did it wrong. Jewish McCaffrey, he sent a warning to all the streamers that they were pronouncing it wrong, and I fell into the trap. I actually thought about his tweet, and then I got mixed up in what the proper way was. Steve picked up Caleb for your title. That's, if you're gonna make a clickbait title, you've got to make sure that the people live up to it. And so I did as well. I took a DK Metcalf. So thank you for being a part of it there. He won a Heisman. He should earn a correct pronunciation. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, James. And again, I'm sorry you didn't get into. I'm sorry you weren't able to get into this one, but maybe it's for the best as Steve takes all of our value. Takes Ricky Pearsall there. A nice pick. Makes sense for his balanced team that he's putting together there. Coming around to us. I don't really have a need for Mahomes. I'm probably going to add one of these running backs here. I think my general preference is Pollard to Swift, but with Odunze here, I think if Swift is there, I'll take him. He's not. I think I prefer Tony Pollard to Aaron Jones, but I certainly see the argument if you prefer that one pick the other way. But let's take Pollard here. And yep, so far the team we're looking at is a 0-3-4-0 with CMC, A-Chain, and Pollard, JSN, Metcalf, Waddle, and Odunze at receiver. So like the way the team is shaping up so far. With my next pick, I don't think any of these quarterbacks really, any of these elite or second tier of quarterbacks fits with what we're trying to do. Hawkinson is here. He's always an option. I find myself taking a lot of him in this board because if I end up in this position, it feels like, naturally picking up a starter versus picking up a bench option. It feels somewhat comfy, but there goes Hawkinson. So I think with Hawkinson off the board, for me, Darnell Mooney is a little bit of a tier break to these next receivers. If I wanted to go double Seahawks, I could potentially do that. I know this is another week 5 bye, but I'm willing to say that's fine. This also potentially opens up Penix, who goes at a spot on the board where sometimes it can be a little bereft of running backs and receivers. So that'll give me a little optionality as the board moves on. All right. Steve says, I'm bullish on Johnson and Steelers overall. I think multiple of them are undervalued. Yeah, I mean, I know I was making a clickbaity title, but I genuinely was thinking about this and thinking about how we really might be undervaluing the Steelers. We're assuming they're going to be this kind of plodding, boring NFC North run-heavy team. But it's possible that they're a little more exciting than we think. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was not that bad last year, and they went out and did get him, right? Like, I think the most Steelers thing to do would be to have some Kenny Pickett-y kind of just boring quarterback room, and they did go out and get somebody that's willing to throw the ball around, and so I don't know if Aaron Rodgers in his last season is really just there to be a kind of handoff merchant. I think they're going to potentially surprise us a little bit. So I'm warming up to the idea that the Steelers are not, like you said, that some of the Steeler pieces are undervalued. Tiger Uppercut is getting 0 Odunze, maybe a blind spot for me. Tiger, I think I had 0 Odunze in the big board. I just thought he wasn't that good like last season. I was super in on him as a rookie, drafted a ton of him. He was really disappointing. I don't know if his advanced numbers were really that great, if I remember right. Like it but that said, he's, second year player. You cannot stream without mentioning two things. One, everyone please like and subscribe. Two, Ben Johnson, obligatory Ben Johnson reference. I suppose, now we've moved on from Ben Johnson and over to Liam Cohen. So I've now checked the 2 boxes, but I think there is this idea that Odunze could start to see something of a second year breakout. It's a little bit of a crowded offense there. A lot of different pass catchers are getting some buzz, but I that's a very long way of saying I've decided I don't want 0 of him, and I'd rather be closer to market. Sean, GM, wheels up for the morning best ball crew. Sean, thank you so much for coming by. Sean Mitchell, a great follow on Twitter, as well as a streamer himself. Yeah, I enjoyed. I believe you were on with Who Hames about, I think it was last week. And great stuff, Sean. I do enjoy your content out there. And if you don't sub to Sean Mitchell, I think you should. Let's see what we get here. As far as quarterback options, these all go later up until Caleb. I suppose if I wanted Caleb, it might make sense to take him now. I'm a little intrigued by this potentially being a naked Fields team. And I don't take a ton. I do take a ton of naked Fields, but I almost like that for this particular team. Evan Ingram makes sense. You know what? Let's grab Ingram. I think that makes a little more sense. We'll pass on Fields. In the ideal world, we'll get Caleb here, and if we don't get Caleb, we'll take another running back and then make this pretty much assure this is a 5 running back team. Caleb goes here, but Rodgers goes late. Darnold goes late. Tua goes quite a bit later. So I definitely have some backdoor QB options. Also taking Ingram here. If Bo Nix falls all the way to me, I could make this a Bo Nix team. So I think if I could get Bo Nix this far past ADP, I would do that over the Odunze pick. Over the Caleb pick, but. We'll see what we get here. It sounds like, I feel like I have some pretty decent outs, and if these 2 are gone, we'll queue up Charbonnet as the backup. Although, again, you could make an argument that Purdy to CMC is certainly a not the worst option there as far as a semi-naked quarterback. Maybe it would have made sense if I took Caleb before. I could have taken Burden here and gotten a nice double stack. Yep. But let's see what comes up. So let's just grab Caleb here. I think doing anything else would be getting a little bit clever. And also this, if we're going to lean into a week 17, Bears Niners game, then this does at least tell a story of CMC versus the Bears. All right. So, Darkside Dev, thank you so much for coming by. He's got mobility issues. He's going to dump off the ball quicker now. Now, that's certainly possible, and that would bode well for the Warrens of the morning. Rodgers to Calvin Austin slants, wheels up. I know he's a popular late round pick, as is Roman Wilson, who went from completely undrafted to people taking him when Pickens departed. Odunze is one of the largest uncatchable ball rates in the league. Also, yeah, I remembered reading that, but I think the problem was he wasn't great with some of the catchable balls too. But yeah, Caleb certainly wasn't doing him tons of favors on real time. Odunze is Thad approved. All right, I don't know what that means, but I'm intrigued. I'm glad he is not Thad denied or. So that is good news. Thank you, my guy. Much appreciated for the kind words. Feelings are mutual. Well, thank you, Sean. Again, thanks for joining this morning. Steve's willing to ignore a lot of the issues with Odunze. I think his raw talent and why he was a top 10 pick and a great draft class is worth investing in, especially with some more uncertainty. Yeah, I agree with that too. I didn't even mention the DJ Moore stuff, but certainly some of the early comments can be interpreted as bearish towards DJ Moore. I think some of the stuff in the interim suggests that DJ Moore has actually like oh, I got to I got to get it together, kind of like he seems like he was he is willing to buy into the new regime. So I don't know. I assume that's going to work out, but you never know. DJ Moore, could be a little bit of a malcontent at times. On real time, we need to normalize knowing catchable rate. Thank you, Sean. Yes, big QB booster here is on real time. ATX Bearcat, thank you so much for stopping by this morning. Kyle Williams going to Judo Chop. That is Kyle Williams has been a bit of a faller. I guess he's still at 124. I don't know why that surprised me to see Kyle Williams go there. It seems like he's a guy that has been dropping in certain rooms lately. Let's see, Steve-O, he added Drake May and Jonnu Smith. Got a nice fall in Jonnu here. I don't think May is stacked, but that's okay. There's some later options in May. Certainly a guy you can take unstacked there. Jared Goff, he's fallen in this room, but of course the one time I don't have the one time that I don't have JMO, I have no need for Goff on this team. Let's see. Tua. Let me see. Where does Tua go? Tua goes quite a bit later. Don't need that. And Njoku might be an option. Ray Davis here at running back. Running back kind of dried up here pretty heavily. I'm going to take one more running back, possibly another tight end, just because I really do like this range of tight end, but with Evan Ingram there, I don't necessarily feel the need to force it. Maybe I should have taken a tight end and then kind of assured that I would end this team as a 2 tight end team, making this sort of a 3-6-7-2. But let's see what the room gives to us. I do like Ray Davis, nice standalone plus contingent upside, and offense we're excited about, and the Cook holdout thing could if that holdout situation gets worse, Ray Davis is going to just continue to go higher. So I think my preference here, again, I think I can push quarterback. I've got at least 2 late QB options. There goes Njoku. I could take Kincaid and then just get another piece of the Bills there. Marvin Mims is an option. Let's see, by my ranks, T-Law, Goddard there. I think I'm just going to take a Kincaid share and then push quarterback out and then just see who we end up with there. And so this at least gives me the option to end at 2 tight ends with Ingram and Kincaid. Maybe I would have been happier had I had Ingram and Njoku, who I am pretty high on Njoku. But as far as the running backs in this range, it gets pretty, now we're in the range with Benson, White, Garendo. Those are kind of pure contingent upside plays where I think Davis, at least week to week, has the chance to do something even without an injury. Bearish to DJ Moore. Steve, I didn't mean to, but I did it. Steve was hoping for Kyle Williams. Okay, that makes sense. I feel like Williams, I feel like Williams has been falling, but we'll see. Again, there's some late Patriots if you are trying to build out a stock flock. ATX Bearcat says Flock was basically comparing Odunze numbers and Coleman, and they were very close. And at cost, Keon is a much better pick. And at cost, Keon is a much better pick, was his point. Yeah, I can see that. I'm definitely more in on Keon Coleman this season. I mean, it is early for Odunze where we take him. We're definitely paying the Ben Johnson tax there, but I think as a prospect, Odunze was significantly ahead of Keon Coleman. I think Coleman is a much more limited player than Odunze, at least if we're just rolling back to the college era. So then again, being attached to Josh Allen is probably better than Caleb Williams, but we'll see. we'll see. Again, both offenses are ones where there are quite a bit of pass catchers where each team has a lot of different receivers drafted, whereas the Bills ones all tend to go quite a bit later than the Bear one. So that's an interesting point there. I would agree. Steve is willing to give Coleman another shot at ADP, but there are big differences in offense and QB play, not mention talent. Yep. All right, Steve. See, I didn't read your point, so I'm glad I'm glad we are in alignment there. ATX Bearcat agrees. For him, it's just the price on Odunze. Yeah, it's again. I'm serious. If I pull up the big board stuff, I had almost no Odunze and just ended up coming around to him, even though arguably the situation got worse with them adding Luther Burden, right? It's not like they just left the the receiver room alone. They added Burden and Loveland. So if anything, that situation probably got slightly worse from the big board to now. I think it's just I've more warmed to the idea of giving Odunze a little bit of a pass for last season. So everybody here has two quarterbacks except the Century. I don't think the Hill guy is on this side of the board. So if we can grab Tua, that would be pretty fun. Where is Tua? Tyreek. Where did Tyreek go? Well, it's all not going to matter very, very soon. All right, yeah. So Tyreek Judo Chop passed on him. So hopefully we can get Tua here. If not, maybe we just grab Michael Penix. Because, all right, yeah, we're just going to take Tua. We'll take Tua, so that's pretty nice for us. That locks up our A-Chain plus Waddle stack there. So we get Tua and Caleb holding it down at QB. Now the next question is, will I add a third QB here? Will I try to push Aaron Rodgers all the way? Rodgers going at 184. I guess the risk is Rodgers is really the last of the tier of guaranteed starting quarterbacks. So, I'd say it's probably about a coin flip to whether he's there at 177. Judo Chop doesn't even have a quarterback. So let's see what comes to us here. So Stafford and Penix both go. I do have JSN. So I mean, I have two cracks, right? I have Darnold and I have Rodgers, who I can get with my next pick. Both will be ahead of ADP at 177. So we're going to chance it, and then we're going to add somebody else to this team. Maybe it's a Braylon Allen share. I think these receivers, I'm not super enamored with any of them. If I take Braylon Allen, then I can end this at 5 running backs. If I have to. I like some of these tight ends. I like Firemuth because he would create a Rodgers double stack if that were to get to us. And if I take Firemuth off the board, it lessens the chance of a sort of Rodgers Firemuth just add water stack. Like Bowen Pat, if he wants a third quarterback now, he can he could tell himself that Rodgers makes sense. But going over my team, we've got a 2-5-5-2 with Caleb and Tua at quarterback, CMC, A-Chain, Pollard, Ray Davis, and Braylon Allen at running back, JSN, DK Metcalf, Jalen Waddle, Romo Dunze, and Darnell Mooney at receiver, with Evan Ingram and Dalton Kincaid at tight end. I like the team so far. Let's see what Steve has done. Steve, since adding Ricky Pearsall, he adds Travis Etienne, Cam Scatabo. I missed those two picks. Of course, Steve, we're glad to see Scatabo goes to a new home. If I did not get him, I'm glad you did. Drake May, Jonnu Smith, Rashad White, Josh Palmer, and Adam Thielen. So again, one of those Buffalo receivers we talked about that go quite late. I really like the Josh Palmer pick. I think he's going to be quite involved in an offense we're all excited about, and we get him in a range in the draft where we're taking him around pretty dicey receivers. Lay the house, RM. Thank you so much for coming in this morning. Dirty P, can you switch the ticker tape to more relevant exposure? Oh my gosh, I have my big board exposure ticker on. And I spent all this time updating this. Thank you, Dirty P, first of all, for telling me. That's super embarrassing. Yeah, I updated my BBM exposure this morning. It takes me forever because it's a manual process. And so, yes, that was my sad big board exposure. This is the new and improved BBM exposure for those wondering. Also, a nice plug. Please like and subscribe. All right, Hartman. Oh, and Rip Rocket. Yeah, Rocket Sanders over in the Chargers, just absolutely buried. He got some good coach speak, so I'm just hoping he makes the team. But it's pretty grim. It's pretty grim for us Rocket Sanders truthers. So I will queue up Darnold and Rodgers. Judo Chop only has one QB. I'll be pretty shocked if he doesn't add somebody with a pulse here. He does, and he takes Hopkins. That's the opposite of a guy with a pulse. My God, I don't even take Hopkins on Lamar teams. So it's looking good for us to potentially get one more quarterback. I think it'd be Darnold just because JSN was my top receiver on this team, even though I am intrigued by Waddle again. With Rodgers and Caleb, I think the Week 5 bye will definitely just kind of tie break it there. I think it's getting a little too cute to take Rodgers over Darnold. So we get our third quarterback. Pretty happy with that. Let me take Darnold out of the queue there. Hartman has been coming around to Tillman in the wide receiver area. Dirty P's been ripping him in the 130s. I've seen you do that, Dirty P, in some of the drafts we're in. Certainly Tillman getting a lot of buzz. Yes, Steve, Hunter Henry, I saw that. I figured he was one of your late targets, I guess. And Pop Douglas just went. So let's see if Steve is desperate enough to take Kayshon Boutte or if he has some self-respect. I don't know. We'll find out together. All right. Let's see what we get here. Sort of in this like kind of fun speculative range. Miles Sanders goes. I'm just going to take another guy I have way too much of, but I'm not going to stop now with Dyami Brown. I really like Dyami Brown at this position in the board. I think he's going to be on the field a lot for the Liam Cohen offense that we all really like. The more Hunter Henry is playing on defense, and I think Dyami Brown is just one of the best picks in this 16th, 17th round. So I will happily add him to the crew. We're up to a 3-5-6-2 team. Again, I think I'm going to just end this with two tight ends with Ingram and Kincaid, even though I do like this running back room with CMC, A-Chain, Pollard, Davis, and Allen. I think I could end this with just 5 running backs, but if I can push it to just 2 tight ends that I'm happy with, which I am with Ingram and Kincaid, then I can take another swing at one of these high upside contingency backs here and add another receiver to the team. Odunze, wow, says one time on Real Time. Odunze got 700 yards on a team with 2 vet running backs, 2 vet wide receivers, and a tight end that earns targets, but that was a bad year. See, we're pretty judgy on Real Time. We expect our first round rookies to all be Jamar Chase, and then when they're not, we get mad at them and we declare them instantly busts. But yeah, I mean, MHJ was a similar thing. He had like 885 yards, and we're like, this guy stinks. And it's like, he was a rookie. Like, these are young players. They're gonna get better. Everyone relax. So that's again, I've come around to think Odunze. We, like Steve mentioned, that was a really elite wide receiver class. Like, Odunze in this class would have been probably just behind Travis Hunter, I guess. Like, I think he would have almost certainly gone ahead of McMillan. So I'm willing to give him a pass for that season. Dirty P, much better pick in the 150. So granted, yeah, I mean, obviously you'd prefer to get him later, but you're starting to get to the point where it's a little less relevant. 32% Scatterbo looks good. Keep that rolling. Hartman, I will not stop taking Cam Scatterbo. The only thing that'll stop me from taking Cam Scatterbo is Steve Schaup, because he will take him ahead of me. But that's fine. There's enough Scatterbo to go around. So I am A-okay with that. Let's see. I saw Steve took Aaron Rodgers that you had. I think you took you had, where is he? Caleb. So you've got a nice little bet on the Buffalo as well takes Tutu Atwell. Coming around to us, let's see what we do. So Judo Chop, he ends up with Geno Smith as his QB1 and Daniel Jones as his QB2. So I'm very surprised that Judo Chop did pass on Darnold or Rodgers there. I don't know if I would have done that in his shoes, but we never know what Judo Chop is up to. We don't know what Judo Chop is up to. I'll take, again, talking about contingent upside running backs, I'll take a swing on Marshawn Lloyd, hoping that he is the backup over there in Green Bay. It sounds like he's healthy. I know at the beginning of training camp, he was running with the rehab guys, and we did not like that. But I'll take a Marshawn Lloyd share. We all worry about Jacobs not always being the bastion of health, and it sounds like they really did want to work in Lloyd. He just could not stay healthy last season. So with Caleb, Tua, and Darnold, I think if I can get my guy Marquez Valdez Scantling, that would probably be my late round wide receiver du jour here. If not, then I would probably take like an AD Mitchell, who's getting some good camp buzz, and he lines up. I don't think I have any week 11 buys. MVS gives me another week 8 bye, but so weeks 5 and 8 are going to be pretty sketchy in the wide receiver department. But you know what? We'll worry about that in weeks 5 and week 8. Right now, we are basically 2 months away from the season, so we simply cannot worry about such matters. So I'm going to add MVS to this team. It is 9-11, so I'm going to fire up another room pretty quickly here because we got a pretty hard out at 10 with Best Ball Breakfast coming on. I'll recap the team real quick. We've got a 3-6-7-2 with Caleb, Tua, and Darnold. Running back room of CMC, A-Chain, Pollard, Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, and Marshawn Lloyd. Wide receiver room of JSN, DK Metcalf, Jalen Waddle, Romo Dunze, Darnell Mooney, Diami Brown, and MVS. And Evan Ingram and Dalton Kincaid at tight end. I actually really like this team. I think this team came out pretty good. It tells a story. We've got stacks. We didn't get sniped on anybody we were too crazy about. So not too upset to see that. Let's recap Steve's team. He goes 3-5-8-2. So similar build, just one more receiver for a running back. I think I'm going to have to wait till the draft ends to do that. Let me fire up another one and we'll go back and recap it. Let's see what I'm going to try to put a pit bull in, but I doubt this is going to be near filling. This is a 20-second pit bull. I'm hopping in. Yeah, waiting for 11. Okay. So we're going to have to do another BBM, I think, because the other stuff's not going to fill. I'm going to do a 20-second BBM just in the interest of getting this off the ground. So I'm joining this room now, waiting for 2. So if you want to hop in, we're waiting for 2, 20-second BBM. I'm going to go back to, I don't think the other one's done. Let's see. Okay, so we just filled that BBM, but let me go back and try to recap Steve's team before. Refreshing the page. All right, there it is. There it is. Yes, if you look at my notes, idiot kept sniping me. BBM 47 was terrible. It was the most frustrating draft I've ever been in. All right, let's see. Steve, he goes 3-5-8-2. Jalen Hurts, Drake May, Aaron Rodgers. So strong quarterback room there. Bijan, Caleb, Etienne, Scatabo, and White. Love your top 4 here. White, you have somewhat talked me into having some contingent value, but strong running back room. Ladd, Devontae Adams, Devontae Smith, Ricky Pearsall, Josh Palmer, Adam Thielen, Tutu Atwell, Roman Wilson. So he does get the Roman Wilson, Aaron Rodgers stack with Jonnu and Gesicki. Yeah, Jonnu, nice value on him, right? He was going closer to 100 when this contest opened, but we're all scared he is going to end up a Steeler. But if he does, guess who's got Aaron Rodgers? So, potentially a stack, but we will find out. I'm 1 pick away. My goodness gracious. And I have the 102. Lay the house RM. He got in here. It is good to see you in here. I don't think we've drafted together. What happened? Did Jefferson flip Saquon? When did this happen? I'm like stunned. I guess I'm gonna take Jefferson here because I think I'm a little light on him. I don't remember that happening. I almost feel like I'm in the wrong contest. No, it's a BBM. Okay, so Jefferson has officially flipped Saquon. I did not know that had happened. Lay the House RM, he got in this room. Let's see, did anybody else? Steve did get in. All right, so Steve, you're all the way at the 11. So I cannot blame you for anything that goes wrong because you're all the way on the other side of the board. But thank you for hopping in. All right, all right. I think Judo is on auto. He could have been. He definitely could have been. I wasn't paying that close attention either because I was whenever I'm talking to chat, I miss those kind of things. So I don't mind. I need you all to keep me informed. If someone's clearly autoing, this is an unstacked May. Don't want to keep the people in suspense. Matt Collins' exposure is greater than 0. I like Matt Collins. He's a player that the league loves, and he gets out there. He just it's thin. It's thin. Like it's he'll like randomly score like a touchdown in a game, but it's hard to imagine him having enough of a week to like hit your lineup and really make much of a difference. Sean is on Team Scat 100%. Tillman is also Thad approved from on real time. Good to see that. Lloyd over Jarquez. I mix it up. I end up with a lot of Jarquez on my Stafford teams, and maybe that's a mistake to only have them together. But I felt like I was light on Lloyd, so that was a big reason. Steve debated on the falling Hunter, but felt like he needed more wide receiver help. I'm on the clock. Yeah, thanks, Steve. I was recapping your team, and I did not want to leave the people in suspense. Let's see the Daniel Jones BBM squad. I can. If we have some time at the end, I can pull that up, and I can pull up the team I hated. Yeah, wanted at least one with you. I usually just spam weekends. Lay the House RM, thank you. These morning drafts are quite a bit different than weekend drafts, and I like mixing up when I do drafts. I drafted a lot this weekend, but the rooms are just different, and who's to say which is going to be better or worse? I just like varying the teams and textures. People hate Saquon. Yeah, people are just looking for reasons to fade him. JJ flipped Saquon this weekend. Bijan probably flipping him next. I'll probably end up with quite a bit of Saquon if that's the way the winds are blowing here. So Josh Jacobs going at 20. That's a little seeing him go ahead of Taylor and Bucky. That's somewhat surprising. I don't feel like you see that. I don't feel like you see that too often. We took Jefferson there at 6. Question is, will P? So he takes Rashee Rice. You know what? I have no Rashee Rice. I was actually going to take my first Rashee Rice share and just capitulate to big best ball, but that will have to wait for another time. You'll have to wait for another time. Lay the House RM. Let's see what he does. Does he build a massive Bengal stack? He does. He takes T. Higgins and Trey McBride, so he's got the nice Week 17 situation going there. I think I'm just going to take Tyreek Hill. Pretty in on Tyreek here. And again, if you're really trying to get Week 17 sweaty, then of course the Bucks play the Dolphins Week 17, a game we're excited about. So again, the likelihood of making it to Week 17 pretty low. Once every 8 years, if you max BBM and you draft competently, is your odds. But if this is the team that 1 in 8 years will hit, we will have a Week 17 stack here. But I do like those players. I've come around a lot on Tyreek Hill, so happy to get him there. Yeah, I think Saquon, I think that happened last week's JJ over Saquon. Folks really leaning into Barkley was overloaded last year narrative. Yeah, it's weird. I swear I didn't notice it this weekend, but maybe I just had them sorted by ranks, and like I kind of know how the first round goes, so I wasn't focused on what the ADP was. But yeah, it's happened, the flippening. I'm just gonna let it happen. The possibility of getting 30% Barkley at 102 was bleak. Now it's alive and well. Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not upset to get shares of Saquon. I think the Saquon hate is a lot of us who were out on him last year just got absolutely smashed, and now seeing him, at pick 2, at pick 3 feels pretty bad. But I'm willing to realize that they have just such an elite offense. If Buck and Davis put out a really good video where the headline was more, is Jalen Hurts, a good pick at ADP. But I think the really interesting discussion there was about Saquon and, Buck noted that Saquon got tackled at the 1 yard line 11 times, right? And then obviously if you go down at the one on the Eagles, it's a tush push. So it's actually possible that Saquon ran a little cold in the touchdown department. And if that's the case, then again, now if you're fading him, you're really just banking on injuries. And if you want to say he was overloaded and bake in some injury risk, that's fine. I just tend to not like to do that because I think now you're just projecting something that's quite difficult to project there. So let's see what our friends are doing. So Lay the House RM, he built the Bengals and Cards stack. Steve-O takes Amon-Ra, Ashton Ginty, Mike Evans, and Kyron Williams. Kyron, a guy I do not have that much of, but I need to get more. Again, this range is really dicey. I see George Kittle. He's been moving up quite a bit. He used to regularly go over here. I got a lot of him from the 1 and 2 holes early in the cycle, and now he's over here on the right side of the board. I think he's in the low 40s now, so 39 is not outrageous. Again, if you want Kittle on the side of the board, he's not going to be there at 58. So if you want those player combos, that's what you got to do. All right, so coming up to us, interesting choice here. Devonta Smith, highest by ADP, then Omarion Hampton. I think I'm going to take Hampton here because I don't really care which running back I get. I don't think I want to make this a naked Hurts team, but between Sutton, Pickens, Flowers, Ridley, those guys, they're all pretty much the same. I have a little bit of a fade on Travis Hunter. I don't think I want him. I think he's going to continue to fall as July, as we move towards training camp. If we start seeing Travis Hunter practicing on defense, then I think he's going to fall another 5-10 picks. So we'll push this a bit. Lay the House takes no chances. He takes Joe Burrow. I'm going to queue up Pickens. I think that's who I want. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I don't want to do Waddle and Hill. I don't think that's awful. But again, that's a pretty hefty bet there. And I don't know if this is the team I want to do that on. So I'll take George Pickens there at 10. I like George Pickens this year. Again, there are people who got it in better in BBM early before the trade, but I cannot worry about that. I do not want to end up with no Pickens, and this is as good a spot to get him as any. All right. Again, if you have not liked and subscribed, please do so. We are trying to get to 200. We are on the path up. So, yeah, excited, and thank you all for joining this morning. All right. Dirty P says, I thought the DJ team was the brutal snipe lobby. There might have been 2 brutal snipe lobbies. I'm going to be honest there. Saquon is falling to where CMC lives. The world finally realized, well, CMC, he is steaming higher. James Young says, avoid the 2K guy in the top free offense with the best offensive line. Brilliant. Yeah, I'm not fading him. I'm not. I think I'm just lighter on Jefferson, which was really the reason there. I'm not going to mess with the ADPs in the top 3. I'm just going to take whoever I get there. I think Sean says, I am certainly sure the 5-month rest of the offseason will not help Barkley off the Super Bowl run and workload or anything. Yeah, no, he's, yeah, we completely ignoring that he's had all offseason to stay healthy. And yeah, I'm in on it. I'm at 13%. Barkley, definitely happy with the fall, says Steve Schaup. Agree with you there. DQ 105. Thank you so much for coming by. Dolphins so interesting. Skill players early, but Tua so late. Thank you, DQ 105. I feel like we were wasn't Tua in the 7th, 8th round a couple years ago? I don't remember exactly where he went. Maybe it was closer to pick 100, but he goes so late for an offense that I think we're slowly realizing that we're somewhat excited about. I don't know. Obviously, the Dolphins' offensive line is eternally a concern, and Tyreek and Waddle themselves not bastions of health and fitness, and there's a weirdness with Jonnu, so it could be another disaster in Miami. So maybe it makes sense that he's going a bit late. And Tua himself, obviously, concussion concerns and playing behind a bad offensive line is certainly a not good for somebody who is trying to avoid hits, but. Again, projecting injury is just not something that I try to engage in because I feel like if you're right, it might have been because you got lucky. I don't know. It just adds another variable to a game that is so full of variables. Steve doesn't love Kyron here, but has very little. He fell 5 spots, so I felt a bit more comfortable taking him. Steve, that's pretty much how I draft Kyron. If I get 4 or 5 picks of ADP value and I need a running back, I'll take him. But otherwise, I'd rather probably just make it like a Josh Allen team or something. Like get a that range to me is just, I just don't love it. There's so many question marks. Um, I like the 2-3. I like the 1-2 turn. Like, this is so much fun. And then you get over here and it's like, yeah, I don't know. Especially out of the like 9 through 11 hole, it's just like an odd part of the draft there. So let's see. Coming up to us, we've got 0, 2, 3. What do we want to add to the room? No screaming ADP values here. 3 decent options right now at running back. I do take a lot of Laporta. I think I'm going to take Judkins ahead of this other range. Caleb ahead of this other range. I'm really in on Caleb Johnson here, and so I'll probably take Caleb and then one of these receivers between Debo, Pearsall, Golden. I like all 3 of those pretty equal. I do want to get more Jaden Reed. I don't love that I click Golden ahead of Reed basically every time, but I do have a tendency to do that. I also really like Sam Laporta. I think he's a tad undervalued. We'll make this a Ricky Pearsall team. He's going to continue to rise, in my opinion, as more and more bad news about Ayuk and his injury comes out. So, again, he was, people like the hypothetical of like, where would you draft a player that got 0 points the entire season, but then gets 50 in week 17? Like, where does that player get drafted? And it's an interesting thought exercise because like, you're going to need him in week 17, but your advance rate is going to be terrible. Well, that was basically Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall did almost nothing the entire season and then was an absolute smash in week 17 last year. And I think, I think I'm in on Pearsall. Another year 2 kind of breakout guy on an offense that we're pretty in on. So we'll take Ricky Pearsall. He opens Purdy at QB, so always like that. Let's see what Way the House RM did. He adds Debo and Judkins. Those picks certainly make a lot of sense. Again, I think I noted he got Burrow there. He did not try to push the stack. I think that makes sense. Just get your guy. And Debo and Judkins are great picks at 6 and 7. So I think the 2v or the 1v1 you get between Debo and Judkins, and maybe Pickens would be better, but you might not have gotten Burrow there. So I do like the players you ended up with there. Steve, he gets the oft discussed Rome Odunze, Joe Mixon, and he is currently on the clock. All right. On real time, any good to elite RB on a great offense needs to go before the elite receivers. RBs are king. Yeah, Steve would agree with you there. I've definitely come around to getting the running backs as the flex, win the flex, and I think you win that by getting your running backs there. Steve says, yeah, I think the Dolphins have so many potential cracks. To his injury, Dolphins O-line, Tyreek age antics, Waddle injury, Jonnu trade, A-chain workload. A lot of ways it can fail. As a Dolphins fan, like reading that just made me not want to watch this season. That's so brutal. That is so brutal. There is a massive bear case to be made, but then the bull case is like, Shanahan clone offense, go Burr and Tyreek fast. and maybe it does work out. Maybe that offensive line comes together. I mean, they're trying to fix it. They used, their first round pick on the O-line, and they're, who knows? Offensive lines can be weird. I mean, sometimes they can just gel and kind of come out of nowhere. So hopefully the offensive line play is improved. Steve says Tua is really, I'm assuming, fairly priced with that risk. Tyreek maybe some. Oh, you mean, yeah, that where the risk is baked into the price. Yeah. Yeah, I guess, but I mean, Tyreek was the 103 last year, and he's like falls into the 3rd round now. So I feel like we might be over baking Tyreek Hill a little bit. Like that's a big drop, and he's out there running like Olympic level, like 100-yard dash time. So I don't know. I'm willing to give one more shot to the to Tyreek Hill here. Coming to us, I wish I had a Chief if Mahomes gets to me, because this is a nice value on Mahomes. He's certainly back stackable. Hawkinson, that's a big fall. So there goes Mahomes. I'm going to queue up Hawkinson here because I certainly like him, and I need and I do need a tight end. Thinking of receiver, if I wanted Purdy, I could take Purdy there. I think, if I want Dak, I kind of got to take him here because he will not come around. Jalen Warren would have been interesting to handcuff Caleb and Warren. I think that's kind of cute, and I'm going to do that in some like single entry kind of stuff. Don't hate that there. Naked Fields is intriguing. I almost feel like this potentially could line up as a Naked Fields team, because I'm probably going to miss out if I pass on the other quarterbacks. I think they're not going to come around to me. So we're going to take Fields here. We're going to do a Naked Fields team. We're going to start the team as a 1-3-4-1 with Fields, Bucky, Hampton, and Caleb Johnson. Wide receiver room of Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, George Pickens, and Ricky Pearsall, and a tight end room of TJ Hawkinson. So hopefully we can get JJ McCarthy coming around. You never know. The Addison drafter tends to be somewhat aggressive with that. Let's see where Addison went. I feel like okay, so Addison went here to Craig's, who does not have a quarterback, so that's kind of bad. Maybe he'll take maybe he will take Goff or Purdy instead. Hopefully, it would be a little early for McCarthy, but again, I think that would be a priority for me with my little Vikings situation I have. Again, opinions may vary on the Fields thing, but I really do like him, and I think he could be a pretty big bonanza for fantasy points. Cross X Face, thank you so much for coming in. GM, appreciate you coming by. Steve says the positive is that Tua still looked good when healthy last year, and the splits for A-Chain, Tyreek, and Waddle are all much better with Tua. Yeah, Huntley was not capable of running that offense, and it disappointed me that McDaniel could not like figure out a way to make it work. You know, when Love went down, like Malik Willis was able to, they were able to adapt the offense in Green Bay for Willis. And I thought that was like a decent comp. You know, you go from a mid to high level quarterback option to someone that we perceive as being somewhat limited, but they were still able to win games and adjust the offense. When Huntley came in, it felt like the Dolphins were just like, throw the ball to Jonnu as play one of one. Like they had no creativity or imagination, and the team like really fell apart. That disappointed me a little bit in the coaching staff, that they weren't able to, you know, it's like they have one plan and the only one that can execute the plan is Tua, and there's not some, you know, something else. I know it's easier said than done, but it does feel like, you know, the Packers were able to adjust on the fly, and the Dolphins, like, it turned into a completely lost season. So, you know, that's something I really want to be in on McDaniel, but you know, there are some signs of worry for me. So let's see, Steve, checking up on him. So he gets I don't know if he got sniped on May and figured that Scatabo was worth it, but Monsieur Lecour, he takes Drake May, so prevents the Steph Diggs stack. But Steve does, of course, have Baker with Mike Evans. That makes sense there. Rashid Shaheed, a player I'm pretty in on, a classic best ball spike week guy who looks healthy so far in everything that has come out. Hartman says, take May and Henry and you have a stack and bring back. Yeah, they just add water stack. We'll see if that's what Monsieur Lecour does here. Jay Donnell, he adds Bo Nix to the crew. So, wow, Brock Purdy is still here. JJ McCarthy, oh man. Oh, so we're on the clock here. We're on the clock. All right. Man, this is I'm just taking Purdy here. I'll take Brock Purdy to stack with Pearsall, and if I get punished for pushing JJ McCarthy, then you can all laugh at me here. We'll see what Lay the House RM does. There's also Dak, so if I really did get sniped on McCarthy, I will. This makes me feel like the Justin Fields pick was bad. Had I known I would have Purdy, Dak, and McCarthy as options, I probably would have not taken Fields, and I would have taken someone else there. But this is a lot of QB firepower. Triple tapping them, this might honestly be suboptimal, but I don't know. I'm enough of a fish to give this a go here and see if we can't dig out of it. I like our starting, our kind of starting lineup here with Bucky, Hampton, and Caleb, and then Jefferson, Hill, Pickens, and Pearsall and Hawkinson. Like, to me, that's a really strong starting eight skill position guys. So I'm willing to take the crack here to try to make this team really like an advance rate monster and have enough stacks to survive the playoff weeks. I think you could make the argument again. I think is this a little bit of a safety mindset? Yes. But the other thing I'm considering is it would be down to down to Tua being there later as far as getting a third QB stacked. And I think I did want to make this a 3 QB team with Fields being my my QB1. So again, we'll see if we can't land this plane. A little bit aggressive taking the kind of like a my inner gritty came out in rounds 9 through 11, but we'll see if we can't make this work. So Steve, he gets T-Law. T-Law unstacked, but T-Law I think is a guy you can pretty aggressively backstack if you want. I'm really high on Bretton Strange, and I really like Diami Brown, so I think that's not really the worst QB to take naked there. All right. Steve says that guy only had 2 RBs, so I figured he'd take Scatabo, figured he'd take Caleb with DJ Moore, and I could get Caleb around the turn. Well, your mistake was thinking Monsieur Liqueur is doing things logically. He's just there sipping his liqueur at 9:37 a.m. and taking just vibing, taking Drake May. Drake May, people just take naked though. I think he's, I don't know if I can blame leg up. I don't know what it is, but I think people think he has like more rushing upside than maybe he does, because he goes naked like quite a bit, and he's not the most backstack friendly guy. Like I know it's nice to get a Hunter or Demario Douglas, but like those are pretty thin bets there. Like if you don't pair him with Diggs, I feel like you start having to like squint a little bit hard on what you're doing. So let's see what's coming to us. Definitely not a quarterback. I'm pretty much in the market for any other position there. Isaac Grendo would make a little bit of sense on the Niners team. Christian Kirk goes. Maybe we'll take Cedric Tillman. Some of the chat was talking about him. I do like Cedric Tillman here. I think he's a perfectly fine 5th receiver. I think he makes sense on this team. So let's add Tillman to the bunch, and then we'll take one of Benson, Grendo, or Blue, depending on what the room gives to us here. Although, I almost feel like I prefer Algier to Garendo. I don't know why Garendo makes me nervous that like Jordan James could win the job. We haven't really heard anything. Again, maybe had I taken a Dak, that would have been better, because then I could have ended at 2 tight ends with just Ferguson there. You know what? I think we're going to do that. I think we're going to take Fergie. We're going to say that we have we're going to end this with 2 tight ends. I kind of like that. I think more than maybe taking Garendo there, because we took 3 QBs. So that'll give us another, again, swing at a running back or receiver later. So this will probably be like another 3-6-7-2 team, but with Hawkinson and Ferguson, I feel comfortable enough ending this with 2 tight ends. Let's see what Lay the House RM did. So he, after he added Tootin and Njoku, a couple of my favorite clicks there, he adds Benson and Algier, so that makes sense. He continues to build out his Cardinals stack, and Tyler Algier, a couple really two of the higher contingent upside kind of plays. So I like what Lay the House RM is doing there, and also leaning into Burrow as the sort of like anchor QB. Again, Tua would have fallen to me. So this Fields pick, again, we'll see. Maybe not the best. Maybe this team would be looking a lot better if that were, a Keon Coleman, Luther Burden, Trey Harris type. And then, later on, instead of Fergie, I could have Tua there. Again, these are all things that are very obvious in retrospect, but at the time, you got to make those decisions there. There's a little gritty in all of us. Yes, it's like the real Slim Shady, but with gritty. There's a gritty in all of us lurking, ready to take 3 QBs in a row. You take Josh Allen naked. Drake May is new. Josh Allen Hartman. All right, I see the vision there. I certainly expect the Patriots to score more touchdowns than they did last year. Steve says, to be fair, I'm taking May naked. I think he could be top 5 in rushing QB points this year. So, like right after I guess that makes sense, right? Like, I don't think Knicks ran quite as much as I was expecting him to. I assume it's sort of after Allen, Lamar, Hurts, Daniels. I mean, I assume Fields will run for more, but not to get like pedantic. So I guess I could see May sort of in that range. And Hurts actually doesn't scramble as much as I think we give him credit for. So maybe you're right. Maybe he even runs more than Hurts does. Hurts just it's more around the goal line kind of stuff. He doesn't take off and run as much as I think he does in people's heads. All right. Sturdy P says, it's hard to exit a lobby with a scuff-free roster. Lawless Streets. 100%. But I do not want to be the one scuffing my own roster where possible. But you know what? We're doing our best. We are doing our best. This is not an easy game. The game may be beatable, as David Kitchen famously said, but it is not easy. It is definitely not easy. All right. Let's see what we've got coming up. I think my preference would be Jalen Wright here. Rico Dowdle goes. So let's add Jalen Wright to the team. A little more of a bet on the Dolphins here. I think he makes sense. And if we take another running back, probably take one of Roschon or Allen. If Lay the House RM takes both of them, then I am happy to add someone like a Wandale or a Demario Douglas there. So Lay the House RM, he takes Roschon Johnson. I feel like he's going to take a quarterback, but let's see if he passes on that and then does, maybe he takes like Wandale and then Dart late. It'll be interesting to see how he lands the plane. So he does take Wandale. Let's see if he makes Jackson Dart a priority. I'm going to add Braylon Allen here. Again, Fields will check down and could be Braylon Allen getting more of a role. He could be a beneficiary of that. And I think Braylon Allen's going to be heavily involved in this offense. So we're up to a 3-5-5-2 on this team. Again, have some flexibility if I want to take another tight end. I think this could easily be a 3-6-6-3 sort of team. Could stop at 5 with Bucky, Hampton, Caleb, Wright, and Allen, but I probably do want to add a 6th running back to this team. But we will see what happens here. Steve with his last pick, so he does get Brenton Strange. Love this pick there. Adds him with Lawrence, and he takes Pat Fry. Maybe he's lining up to take our guy Aaron Rodgers there. I guess time will tell there. All right. Let's see. On real time, Kyle Williams and Hunter is the back stack you need with May. May lead all rookie QBs in rushing, right? I guess so. I guess he had more than Knicks. Again, I don't have that in front of me, but that does sound right. Allen, Hurts, then Daniels and Lamar. But I think May could have a big TD number. That's fair. Again, I think we're all willing to make a bet on the Patriots being better. Jackson only had 4 TDs last year, so he could slide back. That's somewhat surprising. I know I think they do want to limit Jackson's kind of like those kind of design runs where he could get hurt like around the goal line. I don't think they want him getting like crushed by 300-pound D tackles. So I do I do think that that is entirely possible there. I feel like almost the same with so Steve does get Miles Sanders. I like that pick, and he is able to push Aaron Rodgers around the turn, so he gets a stack there. I feel like the Bills also don't want to plow Josh Allen into the ground himself. It almost felt like he was starting to run a little less. Craig Z, by the way, 4 quarterbacks: Stroud, Young, Geno, and Ward. So heaven help you if you were light on QB. Makes me feel a little better about my 3 QB pick. I think some teams could be somewhat quarterback starved in this room. Although 184 for Cam Ward, that is late. That is kind of odd. Kind of odd there. Coming around to us. These players are all kind of at an even tier. With apologies to Steve, if Diami Brown is there, I'm going to take him. I'm not trying to snipe you. I just, he's kind of like a late round Scatabo to me. I feel like he fits on any team. Darius Slayton, he's also a guy I like. I'm happy to take him late. So we'll add Diami Brown to the crew. And then after that, let's see which late round running backs are here. I like Giddens, Lloyd, Brashard. I think all of these guys have options. So lay the house RM. He gets Daniel Jones. Nice pick there. If Daniel Jones is the starter, that's going to look like a great pick at the end of the 16th round himself. Darius Slayton goes. Again, that makes sense, especially if you're setting up Jackson Dart. I'll add DJ Giddens here. I think he's, I'm not really scared of Khalil Herbert. Again, if he can't beat out Khalil Herbert for the backup role in Indy, then he was just absolutely doomed to be like an Evan Hall Colts failure. So we'll add DJ Giddens to the crew. All right. Daniels led rookies in rushing, but May was right there. I forgot. Obviously, obviously Jaden Daniels. I was thinking I was excluding him from that sort of elite 4 quarterback there. Steve says, yeah, 3 for both you and I, and 4 there. Damn. Yeah, I know the QB room somewhat starved. I considered Cam Ward with that fall. Yeah, my goodness. That is a big fall for Cam Ward. Speaking of guys with kind of sneaky rushing upside, I like the pick there. Lay the house RM. So after, yes, you got Jones and Slayton again. I'm assuming that's going to be some form of Giants QB. Otherwise, you're just making a big bet on the Giants. I could see that working out too. Let's see what Steve does with his last couple of picks. But again, thank you all so much for coming by. Appreciate you all hanging out before Pete and co go on with Best Ball Breakfast. That is one of the better shows. I will be tuning in there myself. We'll see if I try to hop in any of their rooms or not. This will probably be it for BBMs for me today, getting a couple of them in, but this was a lot of fun. Certainly hoping that Underdog opens up some side contests soon, because right now it's pretty thin. I know the lobby looks pretty full, but it's tough to get eliminators and sprints to fill. I have no interest in the marathon really. In the pit bull, again, the pit bull can take a while to fill, and so with the poodle done and the puppy and no puppy out there, it's it can be tough to just like fire up a room if you want to save your BBM bullets there. So Steve, let's see what he rounds out his team with. And of course, lay the house RM. I will have to exit the draft after you make your pick and rejoin it to see who you take, because the draft famously does not show what the 101 gets with for Mr. Irrelevant. It just ends and it does not fill it in the board. So MVS goes at 207. He is kind of my my current favorite late round click there. So I will have to take somebody else for my team. Let's pull up. It is going to be a wide receiver. So let me see what my options are going to be. Isaac Tesla. I haven't taken much Tesla lately. I get him more on golf teams, but I think, if I want to do a bring back to Minnesota, that's fine. I take a lot of Ty Felton. He's the, the rookie over there in Minnesota. I think maybe that makes more sense than just taking a bring back for the sake of a bring back. I don't have too many bye week issues with week 6. It's really only Justin Jefferson as far as my wide receiver room, and none of my RBs are there. So I'll queue up Felton. If Felton goes, again, I think AD Mitchell's not a bad click. Been getting some good camp buzz. Certainly has all the talent in the world. And then, if it really happens that Felton Mitchell go, then maybe Tesla if we want to do a bring back. But I think I'll prioritize the stack versus the bring back here. So it will be Ty Felton. Let me make sure I don't. Yeah, it'll be Ty Felton rounding out the team. So we will end this team with a 3-6-7-2 with Justin Fields, Brock Purdy, and J.J. McCarthy. Running back room of Bucky Irving, Omarion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, Jalen Wright, Braylon Allen, and DJ Giddens. Wide receivers of Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, George Pickens, Ricky Pearsall, Cedric Tillman, Diami Brown, and Ty Felton, and TJ Hawkinson and Jake Ferguson at tight end. So let's see what our friends did. I don't mind this team. I feel like it came out pretty good. Yet no puppy out there, unless you count the super flex. Unless you're out there in these super flex streets, and that's going to fill soon too. So let's see what first we'll do. Laid the house RM. He was in the one hole. He goes 2-6-8-2 with Burrow and Jones. So he did not add Dart to this team in the end. He gets Judkins, Warren, Tootin, Benson, Algier, and Roschon. So a pretty young running back room, but one with a lot of upside. I like these guys all here. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, Deebo Samuel, Michael Pittman, Wandale, Slayton, and Mitchell. So he gets the Colts double with Pittman and Mitchell there. Makes sense, along with the Bengals double. So I like that. And Trey McBride and David Njoku. I like your team quite a bit, Lay the House RM. I think you did well. I think maybe these morning drafts are your speed. Let's see what our friend Steve did here. Steve went 3-5-7-3, so a classic 3-5-7-3 build. Baker, T-Law, and Aaron Rodgers. Running back room of Ashton Genty, Kyron Williams, Joe Mixon, Cam Scatterbo, and Miles Sanders. Perfectly fine to stop at 5 there. I like your top 4 a bit. And if Miles Sanders is a starting running back in Dallas, then what are we doing letting him fall to 181? Like what you're doing there. Amon Ra, Mike Evans, Romo Dunze, Steph Diggs, Rashid Shaheed, Hollywood Brown, Tutu Atwell. Again, very strong wide receiver room with Strange, Firemouth, and Johnson. Again, if you're going to have 3 late tight ends, these are 3 of my favorites. Strange. I love Bretton Strange stepping into the Evan Ingram role in Jacksonville. He showed flashes of being, a guy that T-Law was really comfortable throwing to late in the season. And obviously we know Firemouth and Juwan Johnson can get there. Juwan Johnson's ADP at 206 continues to astound me. I do not know why he goes so late. He is very reliable player to go in the 200s. So Steve, another well-constructed team for you. I don't think that should surprise me at all. On real time. I like how you got your exposure scrolling at the bottom. Nice. Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate you liking that because it is a manual process to type that in. I don't have a way to automate that. So I just update that every few days, but I'm glad you appreciate it. Steve thinks they drop a couple things this week is his guess, a regular contest, and then when Superflex fills, a new regular puppy, plus like Superflex, Pug, Hound Dog, etc. I hope so, Steve. And that sounds right. I hear grumblings of something launching this week. So hopefully that comes to fruition. But everyone, thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate it. Had a really fun stream with you all. And it's I love doing this, and I will be here tomorrow. So again, I'll see you all later. Take care, everyone.